Good morning, everybody. Good Mastermind Monday. I want to welcome everybody out. I hope that you're having a wonderful morning so far. I know that we are. We've had a bit of a doozy this morning. I feel like we've been kind of scrambling a little bit, but it's been good. I feel like I've had a bit of a lag boost.
Yeah.
Been away on vacation.
Yeah. How was that, man? I feel like vacations are so necessary for, everybody would say that. I mean, it's as obvious as day, just for a good reset in your personal life and for sure in your work life. So where'd you go?
Dude, we went to Utah. We went to Zion National Park. Zion is a beautiful place. I mean, it is like, if you haven't been out west to Utah at all, dude, you guys need to make a trip out there. It is crazy. You been out there?
I've been out that way, but never stayed, driven through, but never stayed.
Your mind can't comprehend what you're seeing. It's like 1,000-foot walls of rock on surrounding you. It's like you're in a huge bowl of mountains.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so you and Kendall went out there?
Yeah, me and my wife went out there, and we just enjoyed a week of just kind of being away. And that's kind of hard to do, but I was glad that we have such a cool team and such a good team where and I could step away and the whole system is still firing on all cylinders. Like that's
a huge blessing.
I didn't have to worry about work.
Yeah, that's a huge blessing.
But I wanted to because I'm a workaholic.
For me not to. Shots Everlasting. What's up, man? Made it to your first live. Tell us a little bit about yourself if you don't mind. We do want to try to build relationships with everybody that jumps in here, but thank you so much for jumping in. Shots Everlasting. He says, yo, yo, yo,
yo, yo, yo. What up?
What up, man? So that's awesome. You guys took a vacation. You were able to somewhat relax. You were actually telling me right before we logged on that you wanted to try to find an hour and a half to work every day for many reasons. One, because I think he would say that he's probably a workaholic. I think his wife would definitely say that he is. But it was really mainly just to stay somewhat caught up so that because the obvious thing is like when you come back, it's so built, like, yes, you can pull, this is what I always told my wife when we went, you can pull away and everything. And that's good for that moment.
Right.
But man, when you come back, is it piled up?
Right.
But Kendall wasn't really having that, was she?
No, she wasn't. And she's gracious. I mean, there were plenty of times where I would pull up a voice message or whatever, and I was playing it. She didn't say anything, but I could tell I was really trying to be respectful of her. But man, I just enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I have fun when I work. And what we do here, it's like my hobby.
Yeah.
It literally feels like my hobby. Maybe
that is the definition of a work. No. I mean, literally, and you'll notice
quit whenever I want to.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I don't have to right now. I don't want to. You'll notice actually Josh is gone, and we love him and we miss him. Josh, if you're watching, we miss you.
Yes.
He's actually at the beach with his family right now. We had a meeting scheduled after this, and he's like, guys, I'm not going to lie. I hate doing this. I hate canceling meetings, but yesterday it was gray and rainy, and today it's sunny, and my family's on the beach, and I want to play with them. We're like, dude, that's legit. So he's gone. We
next week, where are you and your wife going on your vacation?
Man, my wife is prego right now with another little one. And so I would like to do that before he comes. However, man, I don't know. We need at least a staycation this year, something where just we take some time off. Shots Everlasting says, so I'm new to pressure washing. Just got my trailer built. Let's go.
Heck
That's awesome. Man. And have about 20 jobs under my belt. Dude, let's go, man. I'm actually very close to you guys in Mount Juliet. Oh,
awesome,
man. Come join the team. No, I'm just kidding. And so that's awesome. Found you guys doing some market research. I really look up to y'all's company morals and how you all run things. Man, thank you for saying that. First of all, what is your actual name? We like to try to ask everybody that instead of just calling you Shots Everlasting. That's really, hey, man. First of all, thank you for saying that.
That means a lot.
Yeah, it does. And actually, we do a leadership development meeting every Monday morning at 7 a.m. If you want to private message us, if you ever just want to show up to that, Like, we'd be honored to have you come out and just see, a little bit more behind the scenes in detail of kind of like what we do. But man, thank you so much. And congratulations for having 20 jobs under your belt, man.
That's pretty
legit.
good.
Yeah.
A lot of people go, 20 jobs takes them a whole year.
Yeah, man, that's really, really good. So question for you, how are you marketing right now? Are you just going door to door? Are you doing flyers? You doing yard signs? You doing all of it? How are you actually acquiring all of those jobs right now? He said my actual name is Thomas. What's up,
Thomas.
Man? Yeah, so 20 jobs, that's actually quite a bit.
I remember when I feel like I can remember my first 20 jobs. I did half of them for free. Just trying to get work-ins, trying to understand, how pressure washing works. And that just seems so it seems so simple, but it's not. I remember one of my first jobs. One of my first jobs I went to a big realtor in our area, and I had a connection with him. And the first job I did, it had all of this artillery mold all over the side of the house. And I didn't know what that was. And the homeowner said, there's something in your machine that blasted black spots all over the side of my house. And I believed him. And I was out there with a scraper scraping all these little black dots off of his house. And I had no idea what I was doing. I spent 3 days on a house wash.
Dang. So you let your first damage. You didn't even do the damage. You didn't even do what the callback was for. You were out
it was
there
brutal.
Scraping it with a razor blade. Yeah. Thomas, what kind of rig are you running? Also, I'm kind of curious of that. You said you just got your trailer. Just curious what kind of rig you're running. He said, I haven't started marketing yet. Actually, have yard signs ordered and on the way, but I co-own a painting business, so the pressure washing has come with a lot of the time, plus family and friends. That's awesome, nice. Man. Yeah. We've got a few relationships with some painters too. So if you ever go, hey, this pressure washing is not for me, we're just right around the corner, and we can definitely help you take care of those pre-painting things and, stuff like that. So, that actually segues into a little bit about what we're talking today. Today, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about damages and callbacks, things like that, and whether or not it's your fault. If it is your fault, what do you do? If it's not your fault, what do you do? What do you do when it's definitely not your fault and a customer doesn't care or really just thinks it is, and you're in a situation where it's like, well, it's just our word against theirs. Like, what do you do in those moments? All Seasons, what's up? All Seasons, Carson, what's up, man? And one other thing really quick for Thomas, I don't know if you're able to at the current moment, but if you'd like to join us on the stream live right now and zoom in on something, ask some questions, that is kind of what this whole thing is about. So if you do, Scott, what are the instructions that we need for him? Does he need to email in? So there will be an email that's placed in the chat within the next 30 seconds that will be an email where you can email in, and Scott, our wizard, Scott and Caleb, they'll get you zoomed in with us, and you can jump right in and ask us any questions that you have, just in case you're interested in doing that. Carson, it's good to see you again. That's All Seasons. We learned his name last week.
We got to get Carson.
We got to get Carson in here too, man. Maybe that's a next week thing, Scott, potentially. Carson, if you want to, all good. And then he said in there what he's running on his rig. Let's see, 4 gallons per minute direct drive. I have a 100-gallon buffer tank and a 22-gallon chem tank, plus I have the North Star soft wash system.
Okay. Yeah, you can do a lot of work with that for sure. I feel like a lot of people underestimate the power of a 4 gallon per minute machine. Yeah, I like them. When you work with an 8, you kind of get spoiled, but switching down to a 4 or 5, you realize it can do 80% of what an 8 gallon can do.
For people who, let's say there's someone out there that like maybe primarily sells the jobs and like doesn't really remember what the work is like, or like has never done the work, like just in case an animal out there existed. Yeah. What is the difference between an 8 gallon per minute and a 4 gallon per minute machine? And not just what is the literal difference of gallons per minute, but what is the difference that you'll see inside the field? Like what is the tangible difference that you can tell?
So the finished product will look the same.
Okay.
It will look the same.
Is it time? Does it take longer?
Yeah, it's time.
Okay.
And mainly time. With the 8-gallon, you will get more reach. You'll be able to hit higher spots of the home. But the difference really isn't terrible. It will take you a lot longer to clean concrete. The surface cleaners are going to be smaller. You're just going to have to work a little bit slower.
Do you wind up with more lines or anything like that
Mm-hmm.
if you do the surface cleaner with a 4-gallon per minute machine?
As long as everything's dialed into the size that it needs to be, as long as the nozzle sizes are smaller, surface cleaner smaller, it's all the same.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So he'll be able to run and produce the same as what our trucks will.
Thomas actually made a mention in here that he's painting some baseboards right now, so he can't jump in, but maybe
That's
next
awesome.
week. Yeah, if you do want to next week, the email is also just attached to the about section in the channel. So if you want to email in there, and
Dude, what a baller!
Yeah,
think about.
He's
that.
like, I'm making money and
listen.
stuff,
If you're not
listening
learning
hanging out.
and working at the same time, you're missing out.
He said, I did my first 5 jobs with a 2.5 gallon per minute
gosh.
and instantly knew I had to upgrade. You did like one section, was like, okay, this is not going to work.
That is awesome.
Yeah, man. Now you had something similar to that before you came on here. Am I correct? What were you running?
No, I had a 4.5.
Okay. So yeah, you were like really, really cool.
But I didn't have any buffer tank. I was pulling it around the house. I was pressure washing. I wasn't soft washing.
it was
going
brutal. Right through the machine.
Right.
Yeah.
So last week you had a lady call in. She had a travertine patio.
If you don't know what travertine is, because I didn't until just, about a year or so ago, it's just a very high quality natural stone. A lot of times I think people could mistake it and call it marble
or limestone.
Well, yeah, maybe, but it's like a sleeker version of limestone with some creamy
real smooth
colors that kind of run through. A lot of times you see it on like pool patios and then other patios, but go ahead.
So we had a situation where we did a roof wash back in December. And the lady calls us 2 weeks ago and says, hey, when you did my roof, you damaged my patio because there can't be any bleach on my patio at all because it's travertine and it will etch the surface of the stone off. And she said that we did that.
Yeah. And so I really want to drive home the point that we did the job in December. So it was actually quite a bit, is 5 months ago. Yeah. That we did it. Come to find out, she's got a party coming up. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the patio is destroyed. So, yeah, she ended up calling in. We sent one of our technicians back out there to figure out what was going on. Ultimately wound up, she was making some wild accusations. And let me just say this too, these travertine patios are not cheap. They are found in the upper scaled areas of town. And we've got a relationship with a really large installer of these patios. Yeah. And so I'm hearing about all this. He's on vacation. Normally we would tag team it, or he would even go out a lot of times. So I call up our relationship and I'm like, look, man, I'm going to be honest with you. We clean it with bleach. It all matters about the solution ratio and how long you let it sit. I don't even know what would happen if you just left it on there, honestly. But the installer that installed this particular lady's patio said no bleach. So he basically just terrified her into thinking that. And she, said that when I got out there, she said, look, I had a gut feeling about you guys. You were really nice on the phone and everything sounded good, but I was out of town when you came out here to sell the job. And so I was super nervous and I should have just trusted my gut feeling. She compared us to a story of where she was going to get on a plane and the pilot, she said, I just felt like he had alcohol in his breath. I just felt like he was drunk. And she said, I should have had the same feeling I had then, because I told my husband, this guy's drunk. We can't get on this plane. Husband says, hey, get on there anyways. I don't care. And ends up, they get off the plane because the pilot was drunk. And she said, you guys are pretty much the same thing. Basically a drunk pilot. Should have trusted my gut.
She called us a drunk pilot.
Yeah, literally. And I was like, at that point, I'd already been there for probably 30 minutes. And I said, okay, this is not going. I'd literally said, okay, this is not going in the direction that I think either of us want it to. But ultimately, I think the question is like, okay, what do you do when a customer is being the type of customer that says, I know this anyways, even
Right.
though you guys clean one of the largest, most reputable travertine pool patio installers in the state, even though you guys clean
every patio for them.
every patio they install, I'm telling you, mine's different, right? What do? Ultimately, what ended up happening was we diffused with just long conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be slow, even though you know in your head that this is how we do it every time. And really, this patio is just dirty. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, man. When I went out there and got there, the patio was dry. And she had told me I'd been cleaning it for years. She's been cleaning it just with a hose pipe.
It's hard to tell the person that they're wrong when it's their home and they've been doing it for years.
Yeah, and I think if you've got 20 jobs under your belt, you probably at that point even literally know that people don't start inspecting their home until after something's been done to it. So things could have already been there, probably were there, that once they're like, oh, I want to see how clean the house is, they start going, what's that?
Yeah,
what's that?
That
What's
piece of vinyl is coming off.
Yeah, these plants are speckled from really just water droplets that sat on there and the sun burned right through it. But they think it's. You hear the word chemical. We use the word soap a lot because chemical is spooky. Chemical is a spooky word,
it's
right?
a no word.
Yeah. So I pull up, I get there, and the patio's kind of gray, and I'm actually like, oh crap. Like we might have
damaged this.
We might have, because they're typically white and creamy and marbly. Like it's a beautiful, expensive stone. Anyways, the long story short is we spent an hour there and I allowed her to tell me how stupid I was. We were a drunk pilot. I allowed all of these things to happen. I allowed her to tell me she's been doing it this way for so long now it doesn't work anymore. I knew that y'all's solution was too much and you used harsh chemicals because my husband was up in his office and he literally had to leave the house because it stunk so bad. I let her tell me, I mean, handfuls of things. We spent so much time together. If you allow someone the opportunity and the grace and the respect to be heard, they'll likely listen to you. It takes some time.
It does.
To break through. It takes you letting them bend your ear a little bit. And then even when you start to speak, you don't immediately hit them with the bullet and the gun. You don't hit them with the smoking gun, right?
Yeah.
You ask questions. You continue to
affirm
ask
them when you can or where you can.
Where it's honest. Yeah. And ultimately, this lady kind of put the bullet in her own gun and she reached up underneath where the eaves. So there was a patio and the sun just bakes it. Okay. And underneath the eaves, like where all the eaves stick out, it was slick and nice and smooth. And she brought me over there and she said, see the difference between out here, it's all rough and harsh and the color's tainted. But underneath this gutter, which is the only place that soap would have been on, it's all smooth and looks like it used to and feels like it used to. And I immediately just said, ma'am, I'm going to have to be honest with you. If there was any place on this patio that soap was going to damage it, it's right where you're rubbing your hand.
Yeah.
The soap drips off the gutters and it would land there. That's the only place.
Yeah.
And at that moment, she was like, dang it. She was thinking she was going to get I think she was thinking she was going to get a replacement out of it, much less a free clean.
Sure.
Wound up like we kept talking, kept going through it. And she was happy. She paid us, tipped the technician $100 for doing it, and left us a 5-star review at the end of it. Yeah. And so if you're searching for a magic way to please an angry customer, I don't think there is one. It's all situational too. Sure. But allowing them to say what they've been wanting to say to a company for a long time, I would say if there is any magic, it's that.
She had that drunk pilot analogy in the back pocket. She was waiting. She was waiting to pull that out.
She's been thinking about that since Christmas Eve. I told her at the end of it, I made a joke because her husband said, you just need to get on the plane. I said, next time you just need to get on the plane with us. She ended up not only leaving the review, paying and tipping and just being so happy, but she just apologized immensely to me and to the technician on site. She said, you saw me at my worst. I realize now you guys are the experts and I'm very sorry, and embarrassed. Please forgive me. You'll be my family's preferred cleaner. So point being that the patio is super gray. And when Josh wet it all down and it just looked like there was just a ton of algae, because it's ultimately she'd been hosing it off with a hose, because that's why it's gray, because the algae's never getting cleaned really. Dude, we cleaned that thing, and I'm talking, it looked like someone just installed it. She came out and was like, oh my God, it's my patio back.
Yeah.
Right. And
That's
I told her,
brand new.
I said, you're going to come out and you're going to be like, that's what I've been looking for this whole time.
Wow. It's weird when you start to see the tables turn from it's your fault to, okay, maybe this is not what I thought. I almost feel burdened to like protect that person in a way, or like kind of uphold, like honor them still inside of the conversation. It's not like you're not trying to win the argument at all.
It's not for the sake of beating another human being. You want to find common ground. You want to please everybody. And for me, there was two things. One, when she came around and apologized, and I could tell she was like physically emoting embarrassing. Like it was eking out of her. She was just embarrassed. She was embarrassment was all over her. And I just said, look, I said, I'm sure I could have even handled this better than I think I did. And stress does a lot to you. And she's stressed. She's got this wedding party coming up. And now this guy's saying, well, we can't have it here. This looks like crap. And this is wrong. And this. And so she's like, oh my gosh, I just don't know. I got to. And it was just stress. And a lot of times, if you don't, if like what he just said, you just said something so good. It's not for the sake of winning the argument. It's the sake of pleasing another human being, not even a customer. You don't look at them that way. It's like, this person needs this thing done. How do I win this relationship? Yeah. Josh always said something when I first came on, and he was like a lot more involved in the day-to-day. Our theory, if there was one thing that I would say is like magical, you don't physically say this to the person, but you take the mentality. Most clients want to hear when something's going wrong, mama's got you.
Yeah.
Right. We're here. We're going to protect you. We're going to make everything right. Sure. There's a balance between that and getting taken advantage of. And you have to find that. And I think most people will have an inherent understanding of it, but that mama's got you thing has always stuck in my head.
And it's been very helpful. The difference between, like a 5-star review company and not a 5-star review company is we may not do the job perfectly each time. Like that's not what a 5-star review company does. When they have a 1 or 2 or 3-star experience, we come back and we make sure that we follow that up to a 5-star review experience. And I think the communication, the constant communication is definitely needed. There's nothing harder than making a phone call to an angry customer.
Man, it's the worst.
Harder, but it's so the right thing to just make the phone call. When I called her, thankfully it was perfect timing for my vacation, because I called her, I said, great, we'll take care of it. And then I left. But
I literally was like, that stinker. That stinker, man.
But I noticed on the call, she was like, I've got this party coming up. I know it's important to her that there's most of the effort is done before the party, because that's important to her. And I didn't say that it was our fault or we would fix things, but I said, let me try to get someone out there to look at this for you, because I know it's important to get this done before your party. And people want to hear that. They want to know that.
They just want to know, what are you going to do to make it right? And I think when a company hears, what are you going to do to make it right? It's like, what are you going to do for me for free? Sure. That's not always the case. If you spend extra time, you can figure out, how do we make it, amicable for the both of us? And circling back to something that you said, we tell people, like when price is an issue, and I'm telling you right now, we're not the highest price company. And we can have a whole episode on where do you want to fall on price. We're not the highest price company. We're the highest rated by the Better Business Bureau. So we could be, if we wanted to. We're literally the highest rated by the Better Business Bureau in this state, and probably in this region at this point. But we're not. And so I don't say this to say we deserve what we get, but if someone's Jewing you on price and you're really trying to win it for what seems right for you, for us, circling back to what he said, we've got upwards of 2,000 5-star reviews. I tell people, you don't get those reviews from doing an excellent job the first time. You get those reviews for showing back up when something doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
And that really speaks volumes to people, because people are not just looking for the house to be washed and everything be right the first time. They're also looking for a company they can trust that won't disappear after their money's been deposited in the bank. And those 2,000 5-star reviews show that we do that. We show back up. You get those by showing back up and doing what you have to do to make it right for those people.
And it doesn't get easier the longer you wait. So just do it while you're thinking about it.
Man, if you can handle it immediately, you're likely going to have a better result, because people fester. We all have that.
They brew on it. They're like, oh man.
That whole like pilot thing, I bet she thought of that story 3 days in, but if we'd have got out to the first day, she probably wouldn't have even thought about it. But you brew, you think about like, golly, this company, these stinkers are out here killing my stuff with, chemical. And
they're probably going to try to come out here and try to sell me on something, or just tell me that it's not their fault. And I will say the gentleman that we sent out there had a lot of self-awareness about his tendencies, or what he defaults to. He said, man, I kind of, want to just say, it's not our fault, but it wasn't. It wasn't necessarily our fault. Maybe we could have communicated better on the front end, but having a team and playing them to their strengths is incredibly important. Getting someone on who can talk to people, who can absorb a lot of insults. If you're going to call me a drunk pilot, am I going to pop off and say, you're the drunk pilot? You're the one that's calling
you're
us
the crazy one.
Right. But having someone that can absorb that and charm that person back into a state of being rational.
Yeah. And I think having enough self-reflection to know, am I the guy to talk to this person?
That's good.
And our technician, ultimately, I think he said, I'm not. And he had a feeling like, we all know we were right. We knew we didn't damage the patio. And so cleaning it for free would have been just something she was getting, or even not cleaning it for free, but entertaining the idea of a replacement patio would have been something that would have been going the extra mile. And there is a little bit of justice in that, where we didn't do it. I'm not going to do something like that. Might clean it for free just to get it, in the backstream and stay upstream. But ultimately, he had enough self-reflection to make a call and say, hey, here's kind of what I think's going on. And he is the kind that would have been like, ma'am, I'm sorry, you're a nut. Yeah. We didn't do this, and we're not going to clean it. And all of those things are actually correct. It's how you say them. Yeah, it's how you say them and when you say them. If he would have called us and said, look, this is what I did, this is what I said, and here we go, I would have been like, I trust you, because he's just going to shoot it straight. But knowing that there was a relationship to be salvaged, because we prioritize relationships, something I've started telling all the sales guys is like, worry less about winning the job and figure out how the heck do I win this relationship. And we prioritize that in our business as a whole. And it's something we're working on to really, not just for clients, but like everywhere in the business, the relationship side of technicians and all of our team members. Like we want to win relationships. I think he sensed this relationship is not over. It can be salvaged. I might not be the guy to do it. And also, I don't have the patience. Will someone just come out here and help? It was the right call to make.
Yeah, it was good. He was dialed in, and winning those customers for life. That's the question. How do you give them an experience? How do you communicate to them, we're not going anywhere and we're here for you?
Yeah.
No matter what it takes. It's like a marriage. It's like, no matter what happens, I'm going to serve you. I'm going to take care of you.
Yeah. And I think too, like when a business hears, how do I want to win customers for life? Like that's kind of an obvious thing, right? But when you look into the nitty gritty of how to do that, it means when a customer's at their worst, you still love them.
Yeah.
You still serve them and you still figure out a way. Now, like I said, there's a difference between allowing people to take advantage of you and doing what is best for the customer ultimately at that point in time. But if you've ever had a friendship or a marriage or anything like that, if you're married, there are some days where mistakes happen and things go wrong. You don't just walk out the door, and they don't either. So if you want to be I think that story is excellent, man, of her winding up saying, I'm so sorry. You saw me at my worst. You will be my family's preferred cleaner. and leaving a 5-star review. And like, she did everything that a happy customer for life would do. And now, you know what? If anything ever happens out there again, she's going to trust us.
Yeah.
She's going to trust us. And that's just another tool in the arsenal that I can use to sell to other people of, I'm confident we come back out and we do what we're supposed to do because I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And so you have this confidence that you can sell to other people to continue to generate those customers for life.
It's a greater word of mouth story as well.
100%.
Like, that will sell way better than her just saying, yeah, they washed the roof and it looked good. They washed the roof and then I had so silly. I thought that the patio was ruined. They came out here and they were so generous and nice to me, and they really accommodated me. It was awesome. I'll definitely keep using them.
Yeah,
that's more powerful
for sure. And I think too, like Thomas said, relationships is what makes business fun. Love that point, and couldn't agree more. Payne, what's up, man? Couldn't agree more. And like, ultimately, have you ever been to a local company where you're happier? Like, there's something about going local or to just a small business that makes me happy to give them my money, because I feel like you're definitely giving me something in return, sure, but I also feel good about doing that, about giving you that. And she got to a place where she was angry, boy, when I showed up. But by the time we left, not only was she just happy with the company, but she was like thrilled to paid more. You know what I mean? Like, gave Josh just $100 bill plus Josh made money on the job, right? And I think that's the question, is how do we get everybody to a place where we're all happy and continuing relationships? So, yeah, man.
I think that's good. I do want to kind of go back to one of the other points of just being okay with sitting inside of that tension. Like, just letting it all come out, you know, just taking it all on. I think most of the, you know, if we get a 1-star review or someone has a bad experience, it happens. It's business. When you're doing a lot of work, it just happens. And just showing up, and you can tell, like when you showed up and she was like angry, you can tell when someone's angry. They don't make eye contact. They don't come up to you and say hi. They start walking around the side of their house or whatever, and you got to go say hi to them. You know they're upset, but just beat it. Be nice. Don't be like all smiley, but just be sincere and genuine, and just let them have their moment.
That's a great point. The whole don't be smiley thing. In sales, we try to match tonality. If you're trying to win a relationship, or let's just use the terminology, win a job. If you get on site and something you think in your mind is, oh, well, when you do sales, you have to build rapport and you have to build a good relationship, and that takes time. Let's say you think that, but you show up to somebody's house and they come out and they're like clearly running late for something, but they do want to show you some things. If you sit there and like, oh, cute dog, what's his name? Definitely not going to win that relationship as well as I am, because I'm going to read the tonality and I'm going to start going, this is what it'll cost. We're going to clean the extra, the gutters, soffits, underpinnings, trim, fascia, all the vinyl siding, all the window seals are safely with soft wash to try to remove dirt, mud, bugs, things like that, to the best of our abilities anyways. Windows are soaked and rinsed. They won't be squeegee, but they will be soaked and rinsed. And all that's $373 and 90 cents out the door. And they're like, cool, sign me up. They're ready to leave. So I say that to say matching tonality in all appointments, callbacks in life is a key point of life on how to master communication. If you want to master communication, you go out and you know that this person is angry because you damaged their travertine patio, and you show up and you're like, well, I have to make them happy. Right. I have to switch that around. So I'm going to just get on there and be like, how are you doing? They're not, you can't do that. You have to match the tonality. Golly, let's take a look at this. Oh man, you know, and you know the answer in the back of your head, but if you can sit in that cold shower, man, if you can sit in it and let that shower happen to you, it's going to be better on the back end. You almost have to erase that block of time from your mind and let them talk. Be the counselor, be the person on the other end of the couch. Because if you want to walk away with a win, you have to sit in the cold shower, man.
Yeah. I know my wife is a counselor, and she pulls all these ninja moves on me, you know, when I get home, and she starts pulling all this stuff out. And one thing that she does is she reflects, and like she will say, it sounds like you had a long day of work because this and this happened. I'm like, yeah, that's exact. Wait, what? Oh,
You're right.
I see
It
what you're
does
doing.
sound like that.
And so reflecting, it sounds like you wish that the technicians would have slowed down a bit and paid more attention to rinsing the plants.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wish would have happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I think too, knowing that, hey, you're not always right. And also the customer's not always right.
No.
Like but also you're not always right. So don't go out there with an assumed presumption that this person's crazy and whatever. Find that out during the cold shower. Like find that information out. Don't go at it from that angle already. Give it some time. And that really creates like active listening, of knowing I'm not listening to wait for you to stop breathing so I can give you my rebuttal. I'm listening because I want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Finding as much fault in what you've done and taking ownership, not
Yeah.
passing the buck, even taking it on. Like maybe if you weren't the one that did it, maybe you can still find fault. I'm sorry. I should have trained that guy better.
Yeah.
You know, I should have spent more time in training him and what I'll do and letting them know that there's a follow-up action that's beyond them. Hey, you know what? From now on, we're going to add something to our training where we spend more time on rinsing the plants.
Right.
They'll love to hear that.
Just as much as you don't want to hear, hey, your company's wrong and nothing, they don't want to just hear that they're just wrong. So can we find a place in the middle? Can I say some things? Can you say some things that you liked about the service? Can I If you create, and you can create that environment without asking for them to do that by doing those kinds of behaviors and everything like that. So we're actually about 7 minutes over.
I feel like we can talk about this forever.
I feel like I could go on forever. I'd say Carson, Thomas, Payne, thanks for jumping in. We appreciate you guys. And I'll say this too, obviously that's a principle that goes way farther than pressure washing. That's a principle that can just be applied to business or relationships in general.
Yeah.
Active listening, let them talk, and you'll walk away with a win in the relationship. So if you enjoyed today's show, please make sure to do us a favor and hit subscribe. Of course, every YouTube guy says it, smash the like button, but you can just press it. You don't have to smash it, but please, let us know in the comments if you guys are enjoying these and whatever questions that you do have, but make sure to subscribe. It helps us out. It helps you guys out. And we look for a complimentary relationship. Hit that bell to be notified. And if you're curious of what your business could maybe be worth and looking for information like that, if no one has ever told you, please reach out through the email that's attached. We'd love to chat about that. We can help you figure out what acquisition costs can be like and what it may look like.
And if you want to join the team too, you know, if you're local, you're like, hey, I don't want to do this by myself. Let's link up. We like to have conversations.
And even if you're not local and you want to find out what does it look like for me to have a Browns in my location, please schedule a meeting with us. Reach out to Scott on the YouTube channel or Caleb through the email that's in our description in the bio, and we would love to talk to you guys about that. So thank you so much for joining. We will see you next week at 9 a.m.
See ya.